Welcome to the Ugly Truth Sideshow. This is Jamie and Stephanie, and we are here to talk about, the season finale of Top Chef for a nanosecond.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go into Alone, episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yes.
And talk about some of the
good.
cast
I thought it was
of
4. It's
characters.
3.
No.
Full disclosure, I am behind.
But that's okay.
Jamie recapped me, and I
got
did
the-
watch
you got the
most
gist.
of the first episode, so I know who the people are. I know what they look like. But
honestly, the first 2 episodes of any show is just to introduce the cast, really.
Agreed.
So anyway, Top Chef finale. Honestly, so glad it's over.
Yeah, we are.
I am...
Funny how they already announced the new location, because immediately.
Canada, no town, just Canada. And a lot of people are confused because they're like, there's a Top Chef Canada.
There is.
So why are they going to Canada? But I'm
know.
like, you know what? Who cares? So Danny won. Apparently, after the finale aired, Gail and Tom quickly called each other. Like the second it ended, and Tom goes, "What the hell was that?" And she's like, "I know. They made it look like Dan had a chance. He did not."
Well, I didn't.
like,
You
Danny
had told
was-
me, but I hadn't read any of that. So I did finally start. The articles started coming out, and so I've read them all. So now I get it.
Yes,
that they were saying it was an editing flub, and that
on the finale, sure, why not? After 21 seasons.
Yeah. Well, I mean, everybody kind of agreed that the entire season was edited to that he was never really a front runner.
No,
he continued to be in it. Obviously, at any time you're not kicked off, you're like, well, they don't suck.
They really made Savannah look like the dark horse. They really she's going to come in and win it all.
Yeah.
But the reality is that I knew she wasn't going to win the second that one guest judge said, "Oh, I can tell that she's still trying to figure herself out in her dishes." And I'm like, that's not something you want to hear on the finale.
No.
And frankly, Dan's dishes were so simple.
Yeah.
And not sophisticated in any way whatsoever, that unless they were absolutely flawless, which they weren't, he wasn't going to win.
I didn't see any, and we've been talking about this all season, that the entire season was basically mediocre to me.
It was.
I don't even think the guy who won, I don't even remember what his dishes were.
I don't either. All I remember is that Manny undercooked his lobster.
Yeah, I do remember that. It's like, well, why did you pick him?
Because he wanted someone
I would have picked Laura.
I'll tell you why he picked Manny. He picked Manny because Manny is dumb, and he just needed him to do the minimal of tasks. He didn't want opinions. He didn't want to collaborate. He had his vision, and he just wanted someone to do the Seuss work. He did not want opinions.
Yeah, I
and
know.
so he picked Manny, who, by the way, screwed up the easiest of things.
Yeah.
The man has never cooked a decent protein all season. It was shocking that he allowed him to do it.
See, in my opinion, because I've watched the show I've watched every finale, obviously, for every season. The sous chef is almost, because you can't do everything.
No.
You cannot. It's physically impossible to do it all.
Danny wanted to do everything.
I know he did.
And he was like that all season.
He's lucky he won, is
Yes.
all I'm saying. Because
100%.
I think you pick a strong chef.
Yes.
They're all capable of prep.
They're all, they're supposed to be the best of the best.
Yeah. So, I mean, the prep part, you don't need a workhorse necessarily.
That's what he wanted.
I mean, they're all going to be workhorses anyway.
Yes.
So why not have a workhorse who's good?
With some finesse, with
Yes.
some creativity.
Exactly.
To me, I think that's what
And
was
the ability
lacking.
to judge, like, is this done? Is it not
Yes.
done?
Do you have a flavor in your mouth? Do you
Yeah.
understand salt?
Right.
Because he even said that his scallop was bland. And I'm like, this man won Top Chef.
I know.
It's so disappointing.
It was very disappointing. So we're moving on.
Yes,
and
moving on.
I don't know why we're going to Canada, but it's funny. I don't know if the internet and the things that get reported about shows are also controlled somehow, because everyone's saying like, oh, Kristen was so amazing, and this was like literally the best season ever, and I really
That's
thought I was
PR.
and that's what I'm thinking, because I'm like, did you watch the same show that I watched?
Listen, I will be as highly critical as I want to be, because why not? I have never once thought that Kristen isn't a delightful woman.
Yes.
I think she is charming.
She's so beautiful.
She's beautiful. She's very smart. She does understand plating. She understands creativity. She understands seasoning, all of that stuff.
Yeah. She's a brilliant chef. She has a beautiful restaurant. I believe it's in Austin.
We tried to get into it, but we ran out of time.
Oh.
We had a reservation, but we actually had to cancel it. I was kind of bummed. This was a year ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, I respect her in all of those things. But what I did not like, and I'm happy to blame the editing, is I don't think we really got to see her. I mean, in the season finale, she finally goes, what is this recipe for this pasta? Is this how you wanted it to be?
Yeah.
That is signature Padma.
Right.
Signature
Well,
Padma.
Padma would say it on whatever it was.
But here's the problem. Why did you wait?
want it to be burned?
Yes. And it's like, but why did you wait to the last episode to finally call these people to the carpet?
Well, for all we know, she didn't. And maybe
exactly.
it was just edited
and
that
so
way.
then they're like, for those of you complaining about the showrunner, the editing, these are the same people who have been there for 15 years. I'm like, well, that might explain something.
Yeah, well, maybe they need to like change that up too.
Maybe it's time to, they've never won an Emmy.
I know.
So, hey, here's an idea.
They keep getting nominated. They're certainly not going to win now that Padma's gone.
Let's get rid of some of these people. I don't want anyone to lose their job, but can we promote within?
I'm so curious, and I know I keep bringing this up, but it's just blowing my mind that she's not a friend of the show in the sense that, she did tons of. A lot of these people are her friends.
I know.
Past season winners, past season
Very
contestants, all the judges that have ever been on there. She's friends with all of them, but she's done nothing.
She congratulated Kristen after the show aired, the finale aired.
Oh, she did.
She did.
I didn't
She's
see
like,
that.
great job, Kristen. Oh, it was an Instagram post.
Oh.
And it was like a comment or something.
Well, I'm glad she said something.
She acknowledged it because I think she adores Kristen like we all think she's
right,
amazing.
and they were friends. And I'm
Yes.
sure she had something to do with who her replacement was going to be.
I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
And also, Kristen got a small executive producer nod,
Oh, did
which I
she?
did not realize.
Good for her.
And I wonder when that happened or when that became
Well, it's
into
probably
play.
negotiated when she was doing her.
Honestly, if they would just
Contract.
let some of the youths in and let them kind of refabricate the whole thing, it'd be wonderful.
Yeah.
I love Tom. I love Gail. I'm glad we have a younger host. Padma was very hard to beat. So
is.
Kristen taking this twist, taking this in a new direction is amazing.
It
But
is.
can we maybe youth it up in behind the scenes too, please?
Right, I agree.
Because I do think they did a disservice to some of the people. A lot of people hated the whole Sue coming in as an alternate thing.
That was ridiculous.
That whole thing was dumb. It's like either put him in the next season or don't put him in immediately.
Right, that was dumb. Well, I think there may have been some flubs or something.
There was definitely some casting
kind of
issues.
going on because
Yes.
the dude that went first,
David.
yeah, like that the whole departure and all that, him not going to Last Chance Kitchen was just weird.
I just didn't.
Something was up.
Some of the personalities I did not enjoy as much as I normally do.
I didn't enjoy any of them. None.
I liked Savannah. I did.
I mean,
like
I
her.
was desperate to like somebody.
I didn't hate Michelle, the barbecue woman, but
Okay.
she wasn't. I don't think she was good enough for the show.
You know what? Those were
That's just my
those
opinion.
people. Their personalities would be like people that I didn't hate, but that it got eliminated like the third
You're
or
like,
fourth
oh,
show
oh, well.
on other seasons.
Honestly.
and they ended up going almost all the way to the end.
Here's what I think. I think that Danny would have ultimately been in the finale, but he definitely would not have won. If there were other...
I couldn't stand the way he talked and stuff too. Like
He had an ego, dude.
I know he had an ego. They all do. Most chefs have egos. It wasn't even that.
And I thought Dan was cranky, and I'm not a fan. He's such a bad mood person. And you know what? I'm sorry. I'm just going to say it. I saw somebody goes, I went to Dan's restaurant. Food looks bad. Don't look good.
Well,
sorry, Dan.
What kind of place is it?
Just an American cuisine.
Oh.
We had the prize fixed. And I'm like, it looks like shit, but okay. I'm sure maybe it tasted good.
Well, I'm sure it's sold out now that he's been on Top Chef.
Well, congratulations,
Yeah, I
because
know.
I didn't like you. If I haven't made it brutally clear yet. Jesus criminy. I'm like, whatever, dude.
Oh, well, we're just
They're
over the whole
we
season.
should bring Rasika back. I'm like, would you want some more slugs? God, enough.
Let's forget this season ever happened. The only thing memorial about
Yeah. Just go back in time.
it's just we had to have it. We have to have the first season without Padma. We had it. It's done. It's
done
over.
and done.
And let's move on.
Can we
And-
give Kristen some money in her season? Can we give her some luxurious hotels and air and locale and all the things?
Well, and can we not have it in Wisconsin?
Ever. Or on a boat?
I would have been so mad if my first season as host was, we're going to Wisconsin.
You're going to Wisconsin? Oh, well.
I hear they have great cheese.
I appreciate the opportunity, everyone.
Yeah, they're like, just be glad you're here.
Unbelievable. Anyway,
Right.
all right. Done and done.
digress.
Now, our very favorite show.
Yeah.
Alone, season 11 has begun. It's been 3 episodes have aired.
Yeah.
They are nice and lengthy, which I absolutely appreciate.
Me
I
too.
love all the bulk. I love it.
They're very binge worthy.
And I will say this, editing has improved. Not going to lie, I'm really enjoying the lack of tears so far. I'm enjoying it. And it's only been 3 episodes. So the first 2 traditionally are we get to meet all the personalities. They always have a prequel where you can meet everybody.
Didn't watch those.
I never watched those.
I've watched them in the past, but I didn't watch them this time.
You know what I did? The year that that one guy.
I just wanted to know, like, I only needed to know one time what the prep is. Like, what do you do before the show? Like, what is the actual? And then now that I know what it is, I'm like, okay, I don't need to see that every time.
Me neither. So I'm with you. I jump in blind. Yeah. And so we see them, and I love their faces when they get dropped off by the helicopter.
Yeah, they call it
and they're
drop
like,
shock.
Yes, and they leave, and they're like, wow.
It's like so alone.
And it's probably deafening quiet.
Oh, I'm sure.
And it's like, holy crap. And to me, even if I was super skilled, my first thing is, there are bears here. They smell the menstruation. Like, I'd be so afraid.
As a woman, yes.
Immediately afraid.
And like
I'd get an IUD immediately. I'd never have a period.
Guy, like, I mean, okay, I know
that's Isaiah.
Yes. And I'm like, seriously, why do we need to see his nose dripping and him licking it? Stop it. We get it. I'm like, I'm like, that must have been the most dramatic thing that happened, like, his entire 48 hours.
There's been a lot of blood. So there's Isaiah who's walking around. He goes, I've never had a nosebleed like this before. And then he starts licking it like a fool.
And dripping it all over his hand and all his clothes. I'm like, all right, we understand.
You don't have a shower, sir. What are you going to do?
That's what I was thinking, too. He's like, oh, now it's on my clothes. I'm like, yeah, fool, you going to go wash them?
Anything?
Like, go throw them go throw it a load in? I'm like... That's going to be crusty after a few days.
Disgusting. Anyway, and I will be honest, one of my least favorite cast members, only because I see the writing on the wall. This man he has not picked up one iota of food.
What, he ate a berry and some rose hips.
And he actually struggled with...
And spit them out. He's like, you got to spit out seeds.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh yeah, rose hips were used as, an itching prank. I'm like, why would you eat them?
Well, a lot of people were procuring rose hips on the one season where everyone was starving because there was no animals.
There was nothing else to eat.
There was no fish because the native tribes were like, we don't release the fish until November, so you're going to have to starve for 6 weeks. Which is literally what happened. Everybody's like, help.
Yeah, we couldn't fish.
No, it was a stupid thing.
It was crazy.
And it was during the pandemic. And so they're like, we have nothing. It's like they're literally starving out there. They're eating weeds. It was awful.
I remember that season. Yes. I was thinking.
That poor lady ate a dead fish. She goes, well, it looks all right.
That other guy ate I can't remember what season it was, but
was it a seagull?
No, a dead beaver. Remember that guy?
Yes. So on that note, 2 people have tapped.
Yeah.
And
and the guy that got the arrow in the
Cubby.
thigh. What's his name? Cubby. Okay.
Yeah. So Cubby, who's a bowyer, he makes bows for a living. He apparently doesn't know how to walk with bows and arrows. so he's walking. I'm sure he probably did what we all do. He's got a little weird ankle crank.
He's like,
and he's going through this lush forest with nothing, and he's all, and I was like, what happened? I thought maybe he found a bear or an animal.
And of course they go to commercial right when the yell.
So I thought maybe he ran into a creature, and then come to know he's crumpled on the forest floor with an arrow sticking out of his thigh.
It was severe.
It was terrifying, and I'm like, well.
By the way, wait, totally changing the subject for 1 second.
What?
Is this still just on History Channel?
Yes.
Or is this Hulu carrying it yet? I had to buy the streaming service called Philo. I don't even know what it is. I'd never heard of it before because I could not get this show anywhere.
I believe the History app is free, though. You can literally download the History app.
Well, it could be the fact that I'm using my son's PlayStation 4 in my room as my streaming device, and it has very limited, so you can't just download any old app you want.
You have a laptop?
I do.
You could do it on that.
Yeah, so I probably could, but I when I binge the show, I generally watch it in my room.
Yes.
So and then
me too.
So now I'm like, oh, God, I hate this. Anyway.
Yeah, well, you can delete it at the end.
It's $30 a month.
Do you have free trial things?
That one did not. That was a free trial for 7 days, so I got to watch the first episode.
That's dumb.
It's fine. No. I just was like, God, why is Hulu not doing this?
Hulu does, but I struggled to find it as well. Okay, so Timber, who is he is the gentleman from Indiana who came from a doomsday prepper cult, basically.
We all thought he was going to be like militia, MAGA.
He escaped, and he's a humanitarian with his wife and children. Right. Anyway, he is incredibly skilled. The man is skilled. Cool. Now, you haven't seen this yet, but he came across a moose, and he started doing the female moose call, and the moose started heading toward him.
Wow.
Day one. Did he
kill it?
He hit it, but he didn't even injure it. Because these things they're like the size of minivans.
Huge, yeah.
So the thing ran away. He's like, I feel terrible. I can't believe I could have won the game. I literally could have won alone with that meat. you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's so early; those things go bad. I don't know.
They can't unless it's the dead of winter where they can freeze them.
I think someone's gonna down a moose. I feel it in my body.
Well, every year it's either been, depending on where they are, no one's gotten a bear.
No.
They've all tried.
Yes. There's just so many. They can cull a bear. It's fine.
No, it's not that.
I'm very dangerous.
With what they have to kill, it's like, how are you
bow
going to
and arrow.
Yeah.
You got to really know what you're doing.
You can shoot a bear 5 times with an arrow and it will still come for you.
That scares the crap out of me. I don't want to do it.
And grizzlies.
And Dub, the first night, he's like, oh, I'm going to make a quick tent. He's afraid of nothing, by the way. So he made this little tunnel kind of tent, and he's just laying in it. It's just him, and he's laying there, and he wakes up in the middle of the night.
It's just him?
No. He left his girlfriend behind. But he's laying there in this very narrow tunnel-like structure, and he wakes up. And I think they have motion cameras or something is what I envisioned, because he wakes up and the camera goes on. He's all, hey, bear. There's a giant ass bear roaming around the entrance of his tent.
Oh, shit.
And he's all, so he wakes up the next morning. He goes, well, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. He goes, we're building a real structure today. And he spent the whole day building an actual structure because he's like done with the temporary. I can't. If there's bears like that and they're not afraid. No.
Yeah. Well, they have no reason to be afraid.
They don't have any.
They've never seen a human before.
They're like, oh, you're easy. Yeah.
What are you?
You're weird, but I'll eat it.
Yeah. Or I'll try. I'll take a bite and see if I like it.
And
That's what sharks do.
I know. It's so true.
They don't think they don't like you, but just the bite alone,
they're like,
you're dead.
I'll taste you, and then you'll die anyway.
Yeah, because I bit your leg off or half your stomach.
So Dub is fearless. Timber is highly skilled. And also our friend from Arkansas, Dusty, who has subtitles because he's very, very rural.
Right.
Sweet as pie. And incredibly, he's like, this is how my grampy taught me how to skin a squirrel. And he's
Lord.
like, you take its coat off, and he's doing it. And then he fills the squirrel pelt with moss, and he creates a sewing needle and thread with his hooks from his fishing hooks and stuff. And he makes a hacky sack, and its little legs are wobbling. He's like, look, everyone.
See, I love this show, but it's like every year it's the same thing, you know. I know if I'm hungry, I'm going to do it too. But every time they do it, I'm like, oh.
Michaela, who's Native American, and she's very in tune with nature, and she's doing all of these rituals and all of that. Right. Now, I think it's beautiful. I love Native American culture.
Yeah, same.
I respect it, and I love it when they incorporate it in shows like this. And so she's like, she does this whole thing, and then out of nowhere, there's a little liver or a little kidney laying, and she goes, I think this is a gift. And she cooks it, and she eats it. And I'm like, you know what? You go, girl. You eat that gift. Eat it. And so then she gets
I was like, well, when she got with Jared, he goes, well, she's gonna be stuffed after that. I was like, every once in a while he'll say something intelligent. I'm like,
I know.
Because I'm like, oh, she's eating the kidney. It's so small.
Yeah.
It's on the end of a stick.
I think she ultimately ends up with a squirrel. Did she end up with a squirrel?
I don't know.
I can't remember. But she didn't have much. But she did finally catch a fish.
Good.
But she had eaten too many cranberries. And then she found these roots. She goes, these roots, you could eat these roots. They're really, they're pure carb. And so she cooked them up and she ate them. And then she had a big old handful of cranberries. And she's like, well, now I'm full. And so she's like, I'm going to go see if I have any fish in my gill net. So she walks down. She has a fish in her gill net. It's a beautiful pike.
Big the first time I saw her check it, she didn't have anything.
No. And she was like, oh, I thought I would be able to use gill nets. And now she was regretting not bringing fishing wire or whatever. So she's got this pike and she's sitting down and she goes, I think I'm going to be sick. All of a sudden, and she just pukes up bright red berries into the river, and we get to see it.
Fun.
And she's like, oh, there's the berries. She's like, I think I ate them too fast.
Damn it.
And she's like, well, my first throw up on alone. And so she gets right back to work, cleans her fish, cuts the head off, like nothing happened. She goes, well, I feel better. I'm like, don't eat those roots. Stop with the roots. They're never good for anyone. Everyone gets sick.
Well, and I feel like when you're really
sour,
and when you're really hungry, it's not necessarily the best thing to put in an empty stomach.
And your body just goes, what is this?
It's kind of like when you eat medicine and you haven't eaten.
Yes.
You can't do it. You have to. It has to be a pad on top of something.
Something. I think she's just adorable, and I want her to go far. I want her to not tap. If she does, it's going to be because she loses too much weight, as usual. Or she just simply can't procure. She's incredibly afraid of wolves. Even though she's a wolf tracker, because she's
That's
a wolf
why.
tracker, she's very afraid, and she's been hearing them.
Yeah.
And she's like, I don't like it. And there's big, huge paw prints where she's at, of course.
I saw that.
So we'll see.
She actually was naming the species of wolf by
was.
their paw prints. I'm like, damn.
She's so impressive.
Yeah,
And, you know, she's friends with Winoa and Cassie from the previous seasons.
Yeah.
Those women, I swear to God, I want them to be my tribe. I'm not like them. I could never. They'd laugh at me. They were like, oh, look at you, softie.
Right.
But I want to learn from them so bad. And, you know, one of them, she lives in Auburn. She's so close.
Oh, yeah, I remember her.
She's so close. We could go, not Auburn, Grass Valley, I think. But anyway.
No, I remember the one that lived
Nevada
up there.
City.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the cast of characters is great. Peter, the librarian, who I wasn't sure about, he had like I was telling you earlier, had a really rough go of it in his childhood. He has some issues in repressing feelings. And he said this last week, I have been crying every day. I don't know what's going on. I've been telling my son that crying is not good and we need to tamp it down. And he's like, and I was telling him that because I was trying to protect him from pain, which is an interesting take. I never thought of it like that. So at the very end, when he's tapping out, he's like, I think I might have made a mistake telling him that. I don't think that's healthy. I don't know, but it's all I knew. And that's the last thing he said. So in the Reddit, people were talking crap about that. And they're like, God, he's so fucking, like, why would he say that to a child? That's so emotionally.
Obviously, people who've never been through
that's
trauma.
so emotionally unhealthy. You wouldn't do that. And he responded. He goes, well, that's not exactly what I said, but it's literally all I knew. And I knew I had made a mistake, which is why I went home. And I responded to him. I'm like, I heard what you said and I knew what you meant. And I'm really glad that you went home. Not because I didn't want to see him do his thing.
Right. But you
because,
understood.
you know, when you figure something out and you want it to happen immediately.
Like, I have to make this right.
I have to make this right today.
Right.
That's what he did.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that we got to see him. And he was incredibly successful. And I think he would have gone really, really far.
Yeah.
And honestly, he knew it. And that's why he left. He's like, I don't need to do this. I get it. Anyway, so I'm really looking forward to the season. I don't dislike too many people. Jake ain't my fave right now, but next time we talk, when you caught up, we will talk about the uproar on the cheating. Everybody thinks people are cheating, but they don't. Now, do you remember the dude that dyed his hair yellow and green?
Yes.
And he used his hair for, no? Oh, was he? Well, he used his hair for lures?
Yes.
Okay. They've made a rule. You can't do that anymore. That's cheating.
Oh my God.
And Winoa, when she had that huge sweater coat that she brought, and she started pulling the red threads they said that's cheating and you can't do that anymore. So they're creating these weird, it's almost like they have to wait for someone to do it before they go, yeah, you can't do that. That's breaching the rules. You're giving yourself an advantage that no one else has, basically. I don't know.
Because they didn't think of it? Sorry.
Yeah. Well, see, that's kind of my opinion, but I don't know. Like, I didn't think it was cheating that he dyed his hair yellow or green or whatever.
Either. And the thing is like what
does it matter?
They all get the same opportunity to think about before they go, what they're going to bring, what things they're allowed to bring, and how maybe they can make that useful for themselves while they're there.
I've seen people use their waders as collection boots or collectors or
water. They've all carried water in them.
So I'm not really sure. I mean, I guess we should I'm not going to, but we could do a deep dive to figure out what they consider
the actual rules,
an infraction versus creative.
Yeah, I guess.
So to me, it's like, well, there's been 11 seasons at this point. You would think,
as long as they don't bring anything extra,
and don't smuggle it. Like that one girl, that one woman, she actually snuck a pen and paper in.
Oh,
and they took it from her.
Oh, they took it.
Well, you can't have a pen.
Well, I didn't know if they disqualified her and like kicked her off.
No, she ended up, she was the model. Remember the model from New York? Yeah. Okay, yeah. She ended up bringing a pen and paper or something to write letters.
She was writing letters to her fiance.
Right. I would never do that.
Right. Same.
Never.
And I thought she was also the one that was making separate videos that she didn't want.
That's it. She was hiding content.
Yeah. 'Cause she's like, well, these are just for me.
And they took it. They're like, no, we're taking
no,
it.
Everything you make, we can post.
And they did.
But that's fair.
I hope she's married to that man now. I hope it's not like, oh, we broke up.
God.
That would be awful. All right. Well, until next week, we will dish far more about Alone. Thank you, everyone. Bye.